Hello everyone, this is Pooka, and you're about to join me on another adventure on the Pokémon TCG Online. This game I'm playing just a straight Darkrai Sableye deck, Hammertime pretty much. My opponent is dLOSINGSTREAKb. I have to emphasize the all capital letters in that screen name. So I have no idea what my opponent is playing, but we will find out. I see a Bouffalant, the Gold Breaker one, which is actually quite good against Darkrai, believe it or not. But we'll see what happens. I do just start with a Darkrai and an Eviolite, no energy, which is very unfortunate. But what can you do? Sometimes that's just how it goes. I do play a ton of basic energy in this deck because you want to Night Spirit as soon as possible, so not having a single energy in my hand is a little concerning, but you know, we'll live with it. We'll do what I can, and we'll go from there. So right off the bat, my opponent plays a Blend Energy on the Bouffalant, so I'm assuming this is some sort of Hydreigon deck, and then discards an Experience Share and another Blend. So I'm also unable to click on his discard pile, so I actually don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm still confused as to what my opponent is playing. Could still be a Hydreigon deck, but the Experience Share is a little strange, and I actually have to just pass. I could have played a couple Crushing Hammers there, and just went for it, but decided not to. So my opponent discarded a Ho-Oh, and some other cards in there, a couple other special energy, so I'm very confused at this point, but I can determine that this is some sort of Ho-Oh deck, and yeah. We'll see what happens. I go for the Crushing Hammer to try to discard the DCE, but I whiff horribly. And I'm 2 turns in, still no energy drop, so this is about as bad as it can get for me. And let's make that 3 turns and no energy. Wow. So I am going to be very, very slow to attack at all, which is bad. With the straight Darkrai deck, you sacrifice a lot of late game power with the fact that you're just going to outspeed most of your opponents with a quick Night Spear and just kind of overwhelm them before they set up. But so far absolutely everything has gone wrong. I have missed both my Crushing Hammers, I have played 3 supporters and not gotten a single energy, and I'm staring down that Bouffalant that is all powered up and ready to go. And right there we see a Tool Scrapper, which is gonna nab my Eviolite as well. So just all around things are looking ugly, and now my opponent has 3 different types of energy in the discard pile and 2 Ho-Ohs, so he got pretty much everything he needs, and I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing to show for it. I have 2 Sableyes in play, one with 60 damage, one with none, and I'm still not drawing an energy. So I'm just going to bench this other Darkrai because I actually don't know if the other one's prized. So we're just going to put that down and hey, energy! Alright! And I'm going to be able to Junk Hunt. I can also Enhanced Hammer, so we're just going to go ahead and discard the double colorless from that Bouffalant. Make sure he can't Gold Breaker anytime soon, and now I get to Junk Hunt. There are a ton of trainers in here already. So I have to decide on which 2 I want. I might actually grab an Eviolite, because that's going to be very important for this matchup. So is Crushing Hammer. I need to at least buy some time. Enhanced Hammer would be good as well, to just discard that Blend. Energy Switch would be good. I also have to keep in mind that I have to Juniper next turn, so yeah, I don't really know which cards to take here. It probably won't matter that much. I might just take the Enhanced Hammer, just because I know that will have a use for sure. And I decided not to. I probably should have taken the Enhanced Hammer, now that I think about it. But for whatever reason, I decided not to. So I'm still probably a couple turns away from being able to attack. There's no energy in my discard. There probably will be after Sableye gets knocked out, but really there's no energy in my discard pile, so anything like a double Dark Patch won't be happening. The energy switch would have helped to like attach to the active, get myself some free retreat, and then switched to the active, but I need to wait until I have 2 energy on a Darkrai before I can take advantage of that. So I don't think taking the energy switch was correct from the junk hunt, now that I can look back and see. Probably just should have taken a card that would benefit me for sure, which would be either Enhanced Hammer or Crushing Hammer. But hindsight is 20/20, that's why we look at these videos, to try to learn and see if we can improve somewhere. Now, my opponent gets heads on the Rebirth, which means there will be a Ho-Oh EX with 3 energy on it, and a Mewtwo with 2 energy on it, and the Bouffalant is still sitting there with 1. So at this point, I mean, I have a whole lot of nothing. There's no energy on board besides the Sableye, which will be knocked out. He's got a fully powered Ho-Oh, a Mewtwo, and yeah. Just not a whole lot. And he actually decides to retreat the Mewtwo, which is fine with me. I'm actually happy now that I get to play my catcher, and maybe I can stall for some time. I really need to buy some time to get a Darkrai into play. Now I have that random receiver in hand. I think in a perfect world I would get an N, just so I don't have to discard my energy switch. But it's probably better not to take the risk. Maybe I should just go ahead and Juniper away this hand, cut my losses, because if I random receiver into another Juniper, that is bad. I lose that supporter, and I don't want to have that happen, and I decided to take the risk. Silly, I think, because now I just got another Juniper. I have to discard another one for no reason, and this is going to put me at a major disadvantage. I'm going to be down a bunch of supporters. You know, there's already, let's see, 4 in there. There's going to be 6 now after that. I don't play too many more. And I just have to discard one of my strongest draw cards for no real reason. And it's fine. I'm still going to be able to get a fresh hand of 7. I do get an Ultra Ball and a Dark Patch. So I can at least get 2 energy on a Darkrai. I can just go ahead and look through my deck. I can either take another Sableye or Darkrai, or just take nothing. I don't really need anything. I'm considering playing the Juniper next turn, so I don't want to take a Pokemon that potentially will be useful later. But here, I'm going to junk hunt, and man, there are so many useful trainers in my discard already. There's 3 Dark Patches, 2 Catchers, 2 Crushing Hammers, Enhanced Hammer, all of this stuff. I wish I could have all of it back. I've had to just get rid of all of it, and I haven't been able to put any pressure on my opponent. So this is really bad. I decided to go with a Dark Patch and a Crushing Hammer, because I think my only way I'm going to win here is to discard some energy, first of all, and then power up a bunch of Darkrai's, which is what I need the Dark Patches for. So if I'm able to pull that off, I should be able to win. Now, my opponent, he played an energy on the active Mewtwo, then took it back. Maybe he has a switch or something like that, but actually he has a Juniper. So he's just going to wait to see what's going to happen. I think it's interesting to note that he has not benched another Pokemon. It's very important. There's a second Tool Scrapper. So he should be out of those by now. Most people only play 2 Tool Scrappers. Really annoying to get my Eviolites discarded, but hey, Tool Scrapper exists. But yeah, right now there's 5 prizes on board for me to take besides the Sigilyph. And if it just gets down to the lone Sigilyph, then I might not be able to actually take that out. As weird as it is, the only Pokemon I have to knock that out is Sableye. So I actually don't know if I can take all of my prizes this game. This is the downside to only running Sableye and Darkrai. Usually it doesn't come up as a problem. Like, how often does it matter where they just have a Sigilyph? Like, if that's the case, you're just going to keep Crushing Hammer or Enhanced Hammer to make sure they don't have the energy to attack. Now, I could Night Spear this turn, but I decided to junk hunt. I think the Eviolites are too important. The reducing by 20 damage is going to be a big deal in keeping my Darkrai's alive, so I need to take 2 of those back. And I think at this point, he has to be out of Tool Scrapper. I mean, 2, he's played both. Most people don't play more than that, so I should be safe at this point to put down a couple more Eviolites. And I wish I could see his discard pile, but it's really not letting me take a look. This is really annoying. You really need to keep track of how many resources your opponent has used. And it's a glitch. Sometimes it doesn't let you look at discard piles, and it's not fun. But I do redraw 2 Eviolites from that N, He gets a double colorless, which is fine. He can X-Ball for 60 if he wants to. And I think this turn I'm going to start using Night Spear. There's really no reason not to. I should just be able to Night Spear a couple times and not have to worry about anything with the Eviolite, and start picking away at his guys. I'm going to be down a prize, and you know, it's actually not as bad as it could be. The catchers and the crushing hammers and such have given me an opportunity to just kind of slow him down a bit. So I am fortunate for that. So yeah, I'm just going to drop 2 Eviolites this turn. What are the odds that A, he plays a 3rd Tool Scrapper, and B, he has a 3rd Tool Scrapper in hand? Not very good. So, I'm perfectly fine taking that risk at this point. So I do Junk Hunt once again. Now this might be a little too passive, even for my taste. Maybe that should have been the turn where I start to use Night Spear, but I decided to take the Enhanced Hammer and a catcher. So I'm really thinking that I'll be able to lock this Mewtwo active in. Are you kidding me? A 3rd Tool Scrapper? There go my Eviolites. This guy does not want me to reduce damage, apparently. That is painful, actually. There should only be... Well, that's my last Eviolite. I only have 3 in this deck. He just discarded 2 of them. I don't think I'm going to be using Junk Hunt for Eviolites again. And at this point, I'm wondering, am I even going to be able to take all of my prizes? I might end up having to just, you know, not take a win on prizes, and maybe I'll have to deck him out. As weird as that sounds. Maybe I'll just run him out of resources. He just used a catcher here to bring up a Darkrai. He can X-Ball for 80 if he has the energy. Or he's just going to switch, and it looks like he's going to Rainbow Burn for 80 instead. Strange choice, when you can just X-Ball for the same amount of damage. But, yeah, that's what he decided to do. I was not able to draw a catcher, unfortunately. So, nothing going my way in that department. I should have 3 catchers left at this point. I do have the Enhanced Hammer. I can discard the DCE off the Mewtwo if I need to. Crushing Hammer would have been a fairly big flip there. If I get heads, I can discard the energy off the active, and then I can attack with my damaged one already, with no fear of being Rainbow Burned for a knockout. But now if he attaches a separate type of energy, he'll actually knock me out. But, looks like I'm thinking about actually not attacking at all this turn. I'm going to Junk Hunt once again. So I'm really, at this point, I'm committing to the whole run him out of resources strategy. I don't know if it'll be effective, but I just don't see myself winning this game if I'm going to have to keep just attacking normally. And especially without Eviolites. I think eventually I'm going to get run over by a massive amount of Ho-Ohs, and even Mewtwo and Bouffalant. And I'm really afraid of that situation where it's just Sigilyph, and I can't knock it out. So I want to try to just kind of run him out of stuff. That's going to be the goal at this point. He's got 9 cards left. So maybe it can happen. And this turn he's going to knock out this Sableye. He attached to the Bouffalant and then took it back, deciding to put the energy on Sigilyph instead. And so he's knocked out 2 Sableyes at this point. I might actually just decide to go ahead and Junk Hunt again, but Night Spear at this point seems like what I'm going to have to do. I have to decide where to put that Eviolite. I'm just going to put that on the bench Darkrai just in case. I don't want that to be 2 free prizes for a catcher. And at this point, I mean, I'm going to catch out the Mewtwo. I've been trying the whole game to just kind of lock it in place and knock it out with Night Spear. And let's just see if I can do it this time with an N. I do get an Enhanced Hammer as well, but I'm actually going to hold on to that to decide which Pokemon I actually want to target down with that Enhanced Hammer. So I Night Sphere puts 70 on the Mewtwo and then 10 on the Ho-Oh, just because I'm going to try to hit it again for 10, and then it's just 2 Night Spears. It'll be 70 and 70. That should be a knockout. Now, he does get a switch. That is really annoying. He does 80 damage to my Darkrai. And all of a sudden, things are getting scary just because he's got 80 on 2 Darkrai's and 4 prizes left. I don't think he's played many catchers. So this is just kind of a scary moment for me. Now here, I'm just going to attack with the undamaged Darkrai, because it's not going to be knocked out anytime soon. And maybe I'll be able to catch up here by knocking out this Mewtwo. Maybe not, who knows. And I will be taking 2 prizes after I knock out the Mewtwo, but then it's going to be tough. He's going to bring up Ho-Oh to attack, probably. If he doesn't, I'll just probably catcher it out and go for those 2 prizes that way. But yeah, at this point, I think I'm just going to Enhanced Hammer the energy on the Bouffalant to make it tougher for him to Gold Breaker, because if he does that next turn, I don't really have a response for it. The 10 damage from all the Night Spears are going to add up. So I've done 20 to the Ho-Oh. This turn I'm going to knock out the Mewtwo. We'll do 10 to the Bouffalant. Next turn I'll do 70 to the Ho-Oh, 10 to the Bouffalant. Next turn I'll knock out the Ho-Oh, 10 to the Bouffalant. It'll have 70 hit points left, just enough for me to knock it out with Night Spear. So the math is pretty much all working out. It's just a matter of, will I survive that long to pull all of this off? And there's no guarantee of that, but my opponent is running very low on cards in general. Not just resources, but cards. So this game is going to be a constant battle between me not wanting to play too many resources and needing enough to knock out his stuff. So I always have to be wary of how many cards does he have in hand. Is he going to be able to knock me out? Stuff like that. And is he going to be able to prevent himself from decking out? And if he does play something like an N, am I going to have enough cards to shuffle back in to where I'll be the one with more cards left in play? So this is kind of 2 battles going on at once. Can I win the prize war? And can I win just by decking him out? So I have to be sure not to use too many resources, but I need to use enough to prevent myself from losing. At this point, it seems pretty likely that I'll lose. I mean, just look, I have 2 Darkrai's with 80 damage and 1 with 100 damage. He's got 4 prizes left. I don't think he's played too many catchers, so it's just going to be ugly no matter what happens. So I decided to use this turn to Junk Hunt. I do play Max Potion in this deck, so I'm trying desperately to draw one. But I'm going to just go ahead and use this turn to take an Enhanced Hammer, and I think a Crushing Hammer as well. Just so I can go ahead and maybe remove the Prism from the bench Bouffalant. And then maybe I can Crushing Hammer and make it tough for him to Gold Breaker eventually. So he is going to Rainbow Burn me for another knockout. He's down to 3 prizes at this point. So I will Enhanced Hammer and discard. Looks like that's a Blend energy on that Bouffalant. We'll go for a Crushing Hammer as well and take that off the Bouffalant too. Now I could have just used that to take off of Ho-Oh, but I want to make it as difficult as possible for him to attack with that Bouffalant. And here you can see I'm checking. He has 5 cards left, 5 in hand. I have 6 cards left, and 7 in hand. So if he plays an N, I just want to be careful. He's actually going to draw less cards than me. So this is all just kind of a game of keeping track of how many cards you have left. It's getting very complicated at this point, to be honest. But I have to avoid decking out. I have to keep my option open to deck him out. And then also have the options to win the game. So I will possibly get knocked out by this Ho-Oh this turn, but I have the Eviolite. So unless he has a 4th Tool Scrapper or a different energy type, I'll get knocked out, or I won't get knocked out. I should be safe for the turn, and yes, he just Rainbow Burns for 80. And all of a sudden I'm feeling okay. I don't think he'll ever double colorless. If he does, then it's whatever. So So I'm just going to Night Spear and hit the Bouffalant for 10. We're setting this up just like I had described before. There's now 30 damage on that Bouffalant. I don't Tool Scrapper because if I do and he has an Eviolite, I won't be able to actually knock that thing out. But he does have a double colorless, so I'm actually kind of in trouble at this point. All he needs is, you know, another Ho-Oh and a catcher, and I'm going to lose the game. Now, I'm also down at 1 prize, so I can't actually use Sableye anymore, because then it just takes a rebirth, and Sableye gets knocked out, and it's game over. But I am just going to Tool Scrapper, get rid of that Rocky Helmet. Don't want to get rid of my Eviolite, though. That would be very bad. And again, he's got 5 cards, I've got 6. At this point, I have to wonder, just how many energy does he actually have left? I mean, come on. There's so many like prisms and blends and double colorless and basic energy, so many in the discard pile. He might not even have enough to power up this Sigilyph. And if that's the case, I don't have to worry about this thing ever knocking me out. And I might win just via deck out, honestly. That's going to have to be my win condition at this point. And he gets an Eviolite on the Sigilyph. If he has 2 more energy, I don't know if I'll be able to actually do anything about this. There might be an Enhanced Hammer left in my deck, or a Crushing Hammer. Those could help out. And he's going to Random Receiver. That actually helps me out a lot. It takes a card out of his deck. That's going to help me out a lot. He's now at 3 cards. Obviously, if he plays the Juniper, he loses instantly, unless there's a catcher left. Again, I wasn't able to see his discard pile this turn, so I just have to kind of guess on how much stuff he's used so far. If there's a catcher left, I'm going to lose. No question about it. He can just catcher out the Sableye or the Darkrai, and there's nothing I can do about it. He'll knock it out with a Ho-Oh eventually. Assuming he gets a heads with Rebirth eventually, which that's something you can assume. But here, you know, I just draw another Darkrai, and I should probably just put that down and retreat to it. Or I can leave this Darkrai active. It's kind of risky, you know, if he gets a Ho-Oh, in which he will do this here. A Ho-Oh, energy, and then I guess a 4th Tool Scrapper. So not too risky, but yeah, I mean it's a possibility. A Ho-Oh, another basic energy, and then a Tool Scrapper. I would lose, but you kind of have to assume at this point in the game that there is no way that's going to happen. I don't even know if he has energy left. And there's no way he plays 4 Tool Scrapper. Come on. 3 was bad enough. And so at this point, I'm just trying to strategically waste as much time as possible. And by that I mean, I need to make sure he cannot knock out my Pokemon. I need to put up the things with the most hit points. I need to put up the things that can survive just barely, which is what's going to happen here. He can retreat and use Rainbow Burn for 60 this turn. That would force me to have something, and I do have that Darkrai in my hand. So basically the cards I'm worrying about at this point are Catcher, obviously. That's going to be the big one. I lose instantly to a Catcher. Super Rod, that's going to shuffle cards back into his deck. And N. Now since I'm unable to look at his discard pile, the catcher count I can't really keep track of. The N count I can't really keep track of either. And Super Rod, I don't know. Most people don't run that in a Ho-Oh deck, so we'll see. But this is going to be a really close match down the stretch. There's 2 cards left in his deck, 4 in mine, so there's no threat of me decking out, really. We're both at 1 prize, and as long as I stay on even hand size with him, there's no way I'm going to deck out first. So this turn, I might just retreat to my fresh Darkrai that I was fortunate enough to draw. And I also have a max potion in hand now. So I can definitely buy some turns here. It's really just going to come down to whether or not he has N. And let's see. Now I can definitely catch out the Sigilyph. If he doesn't have an energy or a way to retreat it or a switch or anything like that, I'm going to win just because he's going to deck out with that thing active. So I don't know how many energy he plays, how many he has left. So I'm going to catcher it out and pray that he doesn't have a way to retreat it. That is plan A. So I'm definitely going for the win by deck out at this point. If I attack with any of those Darkrai's, I just kind of lose. He says GG, so I'm kind of scared, like, oh no, he's got the catcher. He's got an energy to retreat. So, I don't know what's going on here. If he has the catcher, I lose, obviously. And I'm just kind of confused. Usually when people say GG, they either play the game-winning card or quit. And he's done neither so far. He actually communications, puts in a Bouffalant and grabs a Ho-Oh. I don't know if it forced him to grab a Pokemon, but let's see. He's only got one card left. I could have bought him an extra turn, actually. I might have lost if he had that extra turn. But I have a max potion here. Do I want to play it? It's questionable. If he has another energy, I would lose. So I definitely want to play it this turn. I might have been better off playing the Crushing Hammer that turn. But there we go. He plays the Juniper. He's got nothing left. And somehow, someway, Hammertime has decked him out. I had an extremely slow start. Things didn't really go my way, but you know, sometimes you just have to find creative ways to outlast your opponent. And this was one of those games where it was just, I wasn't going to win in a conventional way. There was no way that was going to happen. So I just needed to find some way out. And even though it seemed unlikely that I would win, my win condition probably relied on a lot of luck, of him not having another catcher or an N. Sometimes when your back's up against the wall, those are the only options you have. So just a lesson to not give up. Always keep a cool head. When you're in these really ridiculous situations where things aren't going your way, you still might be able to find a way out and win. It's not always going to happen, but in this case, we pulled out a win that I certainly did not think I was going to have happen. I felt like I was way too far behind. I probably used Junk Hunt more times than I used Night Spear this game. But in the end, losing streak, I guess his losing streak continues. So, thanks for watching, guys. I've been Pooka. We'll have some more games up soon, and I'll see you guys next time.